Good morning, everyone. I would like to call this meeting to order at 10 a.m. As many of you know, the governor has recently signed Public Act 101-0640, making certain amendments to the Open Meetings Act so that we, along with other boards and commissions, can continue to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that I, as head of the Chicago Plan Commission, determined that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical nor prudent. I want to make sure our virtual meeting meets all the conditions of the Open Meetings Act as amended. Therefore, I am making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 7E2 of the Open Meetings Act that an in-person meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission is not practical nor prudent. Similarly, I am also making a determination pursuant to the newly created Section 75 that because of the disaster as declared by the governor, it is unfeasible for at least one member of the Chicago Plan Commission or its chief administrative officer or its chief legal officer to be physically present at the meeting place inasmuch as there is no physical meeting place. Before we get into the full meeting agenda for the November 18th, 2021 Chicago Plan Commission meeting, I would like to ask everyone that because we are meeting virtually, please be mindful of your surroundings in terms of noise. Please remember to keep yourself muted when you are not speaking. The meeting is being recorded and also live streamed for public viewing. Lastly, if you are an active participant in the meeting, especially if you are speaking, please do not watch the live stream as this will cause audio interference. Thank you. Want to also quickly provide guidance to those who have pre-registered to provide testimony on the cases presented for public hearing today. Those who requested to testify at the Plan Commission today should have already submitted testimony forms, which included the speaker's full name and address, as well as a public hearing item number, and those forms have been gathered by staff. I would also like to remind our presenters to please be mindful of their presentation length and please stay on point in a concise and efficient manner so as to respect the time of all in attendance. Out of respect for others, speakers will limit their comments to 3 minutes. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted to allow you to make your comments. The public comment portion of the meeting is not a question and answer session of staff or the applicant, but an opportunity for attendees to voice their opinions on a particular proposal. Out of respect for others, please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers. Any individual who disrupts the presentation or any subsequent comment session may be muted and may be removed from the virtual hearing session. I will now call roll call. Commissioner Barkley. Commissioner Biaggi. Commissioner Brumfeld will join us later. Commissioner Burnett. All right, Commissioner Cordova is here. Commissioner Cox is not here. Commissioner Escudero is not here. All right, Commissioner Flores. Commissioner Garza. Am I just not hearing?
Nope, you're correct.
Okay. Commissioner Lightfoot, not here. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Okay, great. Thank you, Commissioner. We got it. We got it here. Yay. Commissioner Moore.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
Commissioner Novata. Commissioner Osterman. Commissioner Pinedo.
Yes, here.
Commissioner Reyes.
Here.
Commissioner Searle.
Here.
Commissioner Shaw.
Here.
Commissioner Sposato. Commissioner Tunney.
Here.
Commissioner Villegas. And Commissioner Wagasbach. I think that's
Here.
right. Great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. We will now approve the minutes from the October 21st, 2021 regularly scheduled Plan Commission meeting. The minutes were distributed prior to today's hearing. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission held on October 21st, 2021?
Motion to approve
Moved
those
by
minutes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Moved by Commissioner Wagasbach, I think that was, seconded by Commissioner Shaw. Roll call again. Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner
Yep.
Pinedo, or Commissioner Murphy is a yes. Commissioner Pinedo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
Thank you,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagasbuck.
Yes.
That vote came up fast, didn't it? Prior to commencing the public testimony and regular business listed on the agenda, we have two cases for which the applicants are seeking a deferral. Both would be to a date certain of the next Chicago Plan Commission hearing scheduled for Thursday, December 16th, 2021. First item seeking deferral is listed as D6 on the agenda. A proposed residential business plan development submitted by the applicant 3914 North Lincoln LLC for the property generally located at 3914-30 North Lincoln Avenue and 3909-17 North Damon Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from B1-2 Neighborhood Shopping District to a B3-3 Community Shopping District, and then to a residential business plan development. The applicant seeks to rezone the property to establish a qualifying transit-served location to allow a new 5-story, 68 dwelling unit building with 27 internal parking stalls, 1 loading berth, and approximately 7,579 square feet of ground floor commercial space along North Lincoln Avenue and Damon Avenue. This is item 20850, and it is in the 47th Ward. Can I get a motion to defer this item to the December 16, 2021 Plan Commission meeting?
Moved
So
by
moved.
Commissioner Shaw.
Seconded by
Commissioner
Yes.
Searle.
Seconded by Commissioner Searle. Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Vignetto,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagaspack.
Yes.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Garza. I'm
Oh,
on board, and
Thank you.
I say yes as well. Thank you.
Right, very, very well. Thank you. And for the record, Commissioner Garza has joined the meeting.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Second item to seeking deferral is listed as D2 on the agenda. A proposed residential business plan development submitted by Trinity 95th and Cottage Grove Planned Community Development Series LLC for the property generally located at 9619-9645 South Cottage Grove Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from M1-2 Limited Manufacturing / Business Park District to a B2/3 Neighborhood Mixed Use District, and then to a residential business plan development. The applicant proposes to construct a 2-phase affordable senior housing project. Phase 1 will include a 5-story, approximately 64 feet tall, 70-unit residential building and a 1-story, approximately 20 feet tall amenity building. 44 total parking spaces to serve both phases of the project. Phase 2 will include a 5-story, approximately 64-foot tall, 63-unit residential building, item 20729 in the 8th Ward. Can I get a motion to defer this item to the December 16, 2021 Plan Commission meeting?
Moved by
Tunney,
Commissioner Shaw.
motion.
Moved by Commissioner Tunney, seconded by Commissioner Shaw. Roll call, Commissioner Cordova, yes. Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore, Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Piñeto.
Yes.
Murphy's a yes. Piñeto's a yes. Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagaspack.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Commissioner Moore is a yes. I'm
Thank you,
sorry.
Commissioner. That's okay. Thank you very much. Okay, motion passes. We will now take public testimony for the items remaining on the agenda today. The following 2 people have signed in to speak on items today. When I call your name, please wait a moment until you are unmuted, and then you may proceed to speak. The first speaker is Mike Thomas for items D3, followed by Steve Simmons for item D1. That concludes the list of who has completed speaking form. So Mike Thomas on D3.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, commissioners, for considering the POA application this morning. And Chairwoman Cordova, thank you for allowing me to speak in support of the agenda item. My name is Mike Thomas. I'm the Executive Director of the Garfield Park Community Council. The Garfield Park Community Council is a community building organization on Chicago's west side and was the local partner on the housing affordability plan developed by MPC and DePaul. with the East Garfield Park community. Over the past 18 months, the Garfield Park Community Council has worked with the POA development team on phase 1 of this project. However, this past February, we did submit a letter to the commission and the housing department over concerns with initial designs and the engagement process with residents. But I'm happy to report that POA responded to local concerns and listened to the community and made significant improvements to the design based on community input. Supporting developments like this is the Garfield Park Community Council's climate resilience strategy for the Fifth Avenue corridor. We're working with Alderman Irving, the Planning Department, MWRD to install an eco orchard down the street from the proposed project. The eco orchard will grow fresh fruit for our neighborhood, but also address stormwater and local flooding and diverting 90,000 gallons of stormwater to the orchard. The Garfield Park Community Council is also a grassroots educator for the state of Illinois and the Illinois Solar for All. So the POA project, passive design and renewable energy features are in alignment with our goals to create positive health and climate outcomes for local residents. POA has created working committees in phase 1 of this project and has successfully engaged residents in the design, incorporating Black art and culture and retail. As a delegate agency of the city of Chicago, we have serviced hundreds of residents each year on landlord rental issues, and we've been contracted by the state and the city to help with rental assistance. We plan to engage local residents and ensure that they're prepared to apply for housing once this POA project is complete. We applaud the department, the Alderman, Irving for their commitment and leadership for the first phase of the project, and we're excited to work with all parties on phase 2, which we hope focuses on home ownership and wealth building. In closing, the Garfield Park Community Council strongly supports the POA application to the commission, and we look forward to working with the POA team to build a successful project that both supports the tenants and the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. Secondly, Steve Simmons, item D4.
Good morning, Chairwoman Cordova, members of the Plan Commission. Thank you for the opportunity to speak about the proposed rezoning at 2032 North Clybourne Avenue. My name is Steve Simmons. I'm the Director of Business and Economic Development at North Branch Works. We are a membership-based neighborhood economic development organization. For nearly 40 years, we've helped businesses get started, grow, and be able to offer high-quality jobs to Chicago residents. In addition, we are a city delegate agency for the Local Industrial Retention Initiative and a neighborhood business development center. The property at 2032 North Clybourne falls within our service area. We are pleased the applicant is proposing an adaptive reuse of this building and pursuing landmark status that will preserve the character of the neighborhood. However, we would like to see the area remain affordable. As properties zoned for manufacturing and industrial use are converted to mixed-use projects, including residential, the North Branch doesn't have as many high-quality industrial jobs that pay family-sustaining wages without requiring advanced degrees. These jobs are essential because they build wealth within Chicago neighborhoods and support racial equity. In this case, we take note the developer has proposed the ARO minimum of 10% affordable housing. North Branch Works would like to see an additional 10 to 20% of the units be dedicated to workforce housing in order to preserve affordable mixed income housing in the community. If the project is approved by the Plan Commission and City Council, we want to see it succeed. We would be happy to work with Alderman Hawkins and the property owner to attract businesses and entrepreneurs to the site. Please reach out to me if we can be of assistance moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simmons. We appreciate the time that you and Mr. Thomas have taken to come in and speak with us today. Next on the agenda are matters submitted in accordance with the Interagency Planning Referral Act. Do I have a motion to approve items 1 through 3 under the disposition heading?
Moved by Commissioner Shaw.
Moved by Commissioner Shaw, seconded by,
Commissioner Searle.
thank you, Commissioner Searle. Roll call vote. Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy, Commissioner Piñero,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagaspat.
Yes.
Fabulous. Motion passes. Thank you. Now we will move on to the public hearing presentation portion for matters submitted in accordance with the Lake Michigan and Chicago Lakefront Protection Ordinance and/or the Chicago zoning ordinance. First item on the agenda is D1, a proposed residential business plan development and proposed industrial corridor map amendment within the North Branch Industrial Corridor submitted by Annexation LLC for the property generally located at 2032 North Clybourne Avenue. The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from M1-2, Limited Manufacturing / Business Park District, and M2-2, Light Industry District, to B3-3, Community Shopping District, and then to a residential business plan development to permit the reuse of the existing 5-story building with 136 residential units, approximately 9,000 square feet of retail / commercial, and 86 accessory parking spaces, item 20854, and it is in the second ward, and Ms. Emily Thrun will provide context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal. Ms. Thrun.
For the record, my name is Emily Thrun with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant appears here today because they are proposing to rezone the property from M1-2 and M2-2 to B3-3, and then to a residential business plan development to permit the reuse of the existing 5-story building with 136 residential units, approximately 9,000 square feet of retail commercial space, and 86 accessory parking spaces. The subject site is located in the Lincoln Park community area. The average household size in the area is 1.9 people. The median age is 30.8, and just over 60% of the population is 34 years old or younger. The median household income is about $115,000. The site is located in the North Branch Industrial Corridor within the North Sub-area in the North Branch Framework Plan, which identifies mixed use as an appropriate land use for the area. The building that is proposed to be preserved and rehabilitated is also identified as a character building in the North Branch Framework Plan. The applicant has agreed to and is diligently pursuing Chicago landmark designation for the building. The site is bounded by North Clybourne Avenue to the northeast, North Magnolia Avenue to the southeast, and an abandoned railway to the west. The site currently contains a 5-story masonry building that was historically the home of the Ludlow Typograph Company building, and it also contains a surface lot. The site is approximately 0.35 miles away from the CTA's Armitage Brown Line stop, 200 feet away from the CTA's Armitage bus stop, and about less than a half mile away from the Clybourne Metro station. The next few slides include images of the site. Here's a view of the building along Clybourne looking west. Here's a view along Clybourne looking northwest. And here's a view along Clybourne looking southeast. The surrounding zoning districts in the immediate area are M1-1, M2-2, C1-2, and Plan Development Number 646 and 1439, an approved large-scale mixed-use development known as Lincoln Yards. The surrounding land uses in the immediate area include commercial uses and parking lots. The next few slides include images of the existing conditions of the site and of the proposal. This slide includes an aerial view of the roof. As a part of the project, a new rooftop amenity addition is proposed. Here's a pedestrian level view at Clybourne and Magnolia looking northwest, and a view from Clybourne looking southeast, and a close-up view of the building along Clybourne looking southeast. Here's a view of the proposed outdoor space on the northwest side of the site, and another view of the proposed outdoor space. The proposal is subject to the North Branch Framework Plan that was adopted by the Chicago Plan Commission in May 2017. Some of the goals of the plan include maximizing North Branch as an economic and vital job center, providing better access for transportation modes, and enhancing natural resources and built assets throughout the corridor. Now I will turn the presentation over to Katie Jenke-Dale, the applicant's attorney, who will further explain the details of the proposal.
Thank you. Good morning. For the record, Katie Jenke-Dale from the law firm of DLA Piper, and we represent the applicant for this matter. I'm joined today by John Morgan and Matt Farino with the development team, and Brian Turksa and David Urban from GRAC, the project architect. Similar to other projects in this area, we met with the Sheffield Neighborhood Association to present the plans, and they embraced this project and submitted a letter of support. We also worked with DPD and its Historic Preservation Bureau, which culminated in a very positive hearing in front of the Landmarks Commission, PRC, 2 weeks ago. We did make some changes to the plans as a result of these discussions, which are illustrated in the next few slides, which Brian Turksa from GRAC will go into in further detail, along with the rest of the project design. I'll now turn it over to Brian. Brian?
Katie, thank you.
If you're on live stream, you're going to have to turn the live stream off so we don't get the echoing. Thank you.
Do you want to try again, Brian?
He might have multiple devices, or maybe he's close to some other person on the same meeting.
While he figures that out, I can go ahead and start covering the next couple slides. After reviewing this project with Landmark staff, we did reconfigure the rooftop addition as shown here to make it less visible from the public right-of-way. Next slide. We also adjusted, this was as a result of zoning and planning staff, we readjusted the outdoor space to add additional landscape buffers along Clybourne. Next slide. And then we also added live work units on the ground floor along Clybourne. That was both to further activate the commercial spaces along Clybourne, but also to pursue the North Branch framework plans and provide opportunities for local entrepreneurs in the building. Next slide. I'm going to see if Brian is able to speak again, but otherwise I'll keep going. Any luck?
Is this any better?
Still no, sorry. So this is a reuse of an existing building. Parking, it's an existing parking lot. Access will be continued on Magnolia. Loading will be off the alley at residential, and an F&B entrance will be on Clybourne. Next.
Is this any better?
I don't know why it's
No,
echoing.
somebody near you has, either you have multiple devices or somebody near you has a device on, or you have the live stream.
Or it's also for.
Okay, for reasons for time, Ms. Jenke, you can just keep on going.
I'll keep going. Yep, no problem. This is the ground floor plan. There is an F&B concept on the north end of the site. We're proposing a food hall that the developer has been successful executing in other locations. And like I mentioned, we have located live work units along Clybourne. And then it's multiple buildings with courtyards in between, an existing condition that will remain. Next. Moving up the building, this is just the floor plan and how the units lay out. Next slide. And then again, rooftop plan showing the addition that we reviewed with Landmark staff, and that received a positive recommendation from the PRC 2 weeks ago. Next slide. And here's just another rooftop plan. Next. This is the lower level plan. There is some, again, F&B space on the north end of the site, and then tenant storage moving to the south. Next slide. I think this is the most elevations I've ever seen for a project, so I won't spend a ton of time on them, given it's an existing building. But because there are so many buildings on the site, there are going to be quite a few. But I guess leave it to say we will be definitely doing a historically sensitive cleanup of the building, replacing windows where needed. And then, like I said, adding that rooftop addition that was very closely reviewed with Landmarks. And Emily, I guess you can just start flipping through these. Here's the northeast elevation. Just keep going. There are a lot of these. So these are some axos that show those setbacks that we worked so closely with Landmark staff on to try to activate the rooftop, but also be sensitive to the historic nature of the building and preserving those important or historically significant roof lines. Next slide. Here's another kind of close up of the elevator overrun. Next.
Hi, Katie. Is this volume, is the audio better now?
You're in, Brian. All right. You want to
Okay.
take over?
Sincere apologies for the technical hiccup. Thank you for passing things over, Katie. Commissioners and attendees, thank you for your time this morning, for the opportunity to present this project. I'll pick up where Katie's leaving off with transportation, traffic, and parking. We have entry points and curb cut improvements as indicated on this diagram. All curb cuts along Claiborne Avenue will be infilled to improve pedestrian accessibility and safety. Parking and loading are accessed off of the side street, Magnolia, and behind the building, are located behind the building mass. Landscaping will be provided in accordance with the Chicago zoning ordinance. Next slide. From an urban design standpoint, the proposed outdoor space activates what is currently a commercial loading dock. Replacing the entry doors on Claiborne will bring more prominence to the building. As already discussed, the new roof addition is set back from the existing face of building. And the existing historic facade maintains a street wall as promoted by the Chicago zoning ordinance. Open space will be provided at the northwest corner of the site, with portions intended for public landscaping and portions intended for the building's food and beverage tenant. Furthermore, private open space will be provided to the building residents at the proposed courtyards. For building materials, all new masonry and limestone sills will match the existing conditions. Dark metal will be implemented at the roof deck, and windows and entry doors will be replaced to match the original design intent as shown in the historic drawings. The project will follow the Chicago Sustainability Development Policy. We are planning for the following sustainable features: green roofs, permeable pavers, high efficiency plumbing fixtures, bike parking, EV capable parking, and we will be in proximity to public transit. The project will follow the 2016 regulations for sewers construction and stormwater management. In summary, the existing impervious area will be reduced, the landscaping area will be added, new parking lots will meet, or the new parking lot will meet rate and volume control requirements, and erosion and sediment control requirements will be followed during construction. Katie, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Brian. This project is subject to the 2021 ARO, and the applicant has elected to pursue the 10% requirement at a weighted average of 30% AMI. Half of the required units, or 7, will be provided on site, and a $1.8 million fee in lieu will be paid for the other 7 units. Additionally, the developer has voluntarily provided more 2- and 3-bedroom units as affordable than would otherwise be required. Next slide. The project has a $22 million project cost, and which will involve approximately 440 construction jobs. We'll also provide neighborhood-focused commercial space with a focus on partnering with Chicago-based businesses. Also, those ground floor live work units will provide opportunities for local entrepreneurs. And finally, given this property has most recently been owned by a nonprofit, will be added back to the tax rolls with 100% new property taxes. With that, I'll turn it back over to DPD, but our entire team is here and available for any questions the commission may have. Thank you.
The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant and has concluded that the proposal would be appropriate for the following reasons. The proposal will not affect the continued industrial viability of the North Branch Industrial Corridor. It complies with the North Branch Framework Plan and is consistent with land use patterns in this portion of the industrial corridor. It complies with the PD standards and guidelines. It includes a level of amenities appropriate to the nature and scale of the project. It promotes pedestrian interest, safety, and comfort. It adaptively reuses a building that is identified as a character building in the North Branch Framework Plan and is compatible with the surrounding area in terms of uses, density, and building scale. Please refer to my staff report for further details on the project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, the zoning administrator recommends that the application for the establishment of the plan development and zoning map amendment in the North Branch Industrial Corridor be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such. Thank you.
Okay, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Ms. Thrun. Is Alderman Hopkins here? Or do we have it? Well, you know, I'm sorry. I just saw Commissioner Reyes.
Chairman, we have his, we also have his chief of staff here, or one of the staff.
Okay, let me go to Commissioner Reyes. Her hand just went up as I was asking for Alderman Hopkins, and then I'll go to Alderman Hopkins staff member. But go ahead, Commissioner Reyes.
Thank you. Could you please go back to the ARO slide? It went too fast for me, so I apologize for being slow. But so I understand it's the 2021. It's 14 units, so 7 should have been on site, but it's only 7 on site. Okay. And what are the incomes that we're going to target? I mean, all of these 7 are going to be at 30% AMI.
Right, it's a 30% weighted average.
Okay, so some units are going to be at 80% AMI, so that you're saying weighted average. So not all of them are at 30. So we're going to have units at 30, at 50, at 80, at 100.
Under the 2021 ARO, the maximum is 80%. I think that we'll probably end up doing all of them at 30 because I'm not even sure how we would do a weighted average with 80.
That's exactly what.
Right. So
I appreciate
that. At 30. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be impossible to
right.
grade the 30 if you only have the ceiling is 80. So okay,
right.
I really appreciate that, and I also heard that you mentioned that there are going to be some 3 bedrooms as part of those.
Correct. So the overall unit count only includes 5% 3 bedrooms, but SNA was very interested in having some larger units as affordable. So we decided to provide 1 3 bedroom. Also, the overall unit count would have probably only required 1 2 bedroom because there are only 13% of the overall unit count, but we're going to do 2.
Okay, it works. See, it can work. Affordability can be provided in these amazing redevelopment buildings. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Okay, now we'll go to Alderman Hawkins' staff, who will introduce him or herself.
Good morning, Brian Pellerine for the record on behalf of Alderman Hopkins. Alderman Hopkins has provided a letter of support for this project. He is very pleased with community feedback process that happened via Sheffield Neighbors Association, and he appreciates the adaptive use, of the structure and the landmarking. Fully supportive of that as well. So, on Alderman Hopkins' behalf, this project is lauded and very, very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Searle.
I wanted to ask about the delivery and loading, especially for the restaurant venue. Will that be done also through the back of the building, or I guess what you'd call the back, off of Clybourne, not off Clybourne, but it'll come through the loading. Oh, so loading access, I see. Is that correct? There in the center?
The alley.
Off the alley, okay. And then if it's loading for the restaurant, what happens with that? Do they walk from this loading access area over to the restaurant, which is on the north end?
Brian
Mirza from GREC Architects. Loading for the restaurant would also occur off of the alley, not off of Clybourne.
Okay. I mean, because we know Clybourne is kind of even now, a traffic mess and will only get worse as these areas get developed. So, all right. And then in the site plan, off of the green area, are those parking spaces, or what is that along the north end? Just, I guess that would be west of the green space? Yeah, where your pointer is?
That is an existing condition outside of our property line. I think that that's the shopping center to the north.
Okay, so when you load, you're going to be coming back out onto Magnolia,
Correct.
correct? Okay, okay. Thank you. I think
Thank-
that's all I need.
These are all great questions. Commissioner Lyons.
Thank you. Can you speak a little bit more? It looks like you are estimating around 75 permanent jobs. You know, I was listening to the public comment earlier about, you know, the quality of, you know, manufacturing jobs. Can you speak a little bit about what the type and quality of jobs that we can expect to see at this project?
Sure, I'll start, and then John, or if you wanted to jump in as well. Most of those are projected for the food and beverage, which is the food hall at the north end, as well as from those live work units that we're adding. And we've been in touch with North Branch Works very recently this week, and we're happy to keep working with them to try to identify, you know, appropriate operators for the food hall that are, you know, local Chicago-based and high-quality jobs. But John, I saw you go off mute if you had anything to add there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. Am I on video now? I can't see anything. But just as Katie described, you know, ultimately it's going to be F&B jobs, everything from, you know, bussers to cooks to different chefs that will also occupy the space. And then, you know, again, as it relates to Steve Simmons' comments from North Branch, you know, we're absolutely looking forward to finding ways to work with them to potentially source viable businesses for our live work units.
Commissioner Searle, did you have your hand up still, or you want to?
Yes, no, I forgot to say this. I just wanted to compliment you that you're working on this idea of live work on the first floor level there, because I really think that's such a good option for so many other areas where retail is not viable or, you know, affordable. But if we can make them sort of live workspaces instead, like you're doing here, it's a great way to start, you know, filling the first floor levels of some of these buildings. And also just that you're reusing an existing really nice building. So kudos for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
You know, huge kudos. I just want to add to what Commissioner Searle just said. I totally love this project. You can tell there's a lot of pride and care that went into it. And sort of to Commissioner Reyes's point, you know, you're showing not only that the affordable housing can be done, but you're also showing that adaptive reuse can be done in a way that's really innovative and interesting. So, you know, you kind of were chuckling about the elevation, all the multiple elevations. I think it's probably going to make for a really interesting building. But I think the whole project is interesting, and I think it's very exciting. So with that, I'm going to ask for a motion on the proposed residential development and proposed industrial corridor map amendment within the North Branch Industrial Corridor submitted by Annexation LLC, with the property generally located at 2032 North Clybourne Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval.
So moved by Commissioner Searle.
Seconded by
Garza.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Garza. All right, roll call. Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Cox, oops, I'm sorry, she's not here. Commissioner Garza?
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy? Commissioner P. You know, I'm pronouncing it Pinedo like it's IE, but I understand that it's EI. So please pronounce it for me again.
Pinedo, but that's good. That's fine.
Pinedo,
Commissioner,
so-
appreciate it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Pinedo.
and I'm a yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Searle,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw, Commissioner Tunney,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wagasbuck.
Yes.
Fantastic. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shaw is a yes too, for the record.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. Next item on the agenda is D3, a proposed plan development submitted by Preservation of Affordable Housing for the property generally located at 3145 and 3150 West 5th Avenue in the East Garfield Park community area, The applicant is proposing to rezone the site from a C1-3 neighborhood commercial district to a residential business plan development. The applicant is proposing to construct a mixed-use campus with a maximum of 121,253 square feet. The project will include neighborhood serving retail space and a maximum of 82 dwelling units. In phase 1, the applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use building with a maximum 50 dwelling units, ground floor commercial space, and 15 parking spaces. In phase 2, the applicant proposes to construct a mixed-use building with 32 dwelling units with ground floor commercial space and 17 parking spaces. Item 20674, this is in the 28th Ward. Ernest Bellamy will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal. Mr. Bellamy.
Good morning, Chairwoman Cordova and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is Ernest Bellamy with the Department of Planning and Development. The application, as just described by the Chairwoman, covers the creation of a residential business plan development across the sites listed, generally 3145 and 3150 West 5th Avenue. The subject site is located within the 28th Ward in the East Garfield Park community area. Also on today's meeting are the applicant team led by Preservation of Affordable Housing, along with the architects, Perkins & Will and Terra Engineering. As a brief recap, this project is a winning project of the C40 Reinventing Cities competition from 2019. This winning project is better known by its winning entry name of Garfield Green. As a snapshot of the area of which the proposed PD is located, the East Garfield Park demographics break down as follows. The total population is 19,992, whereas 41.5% of residents are aged 20 through 49, 36.1% are age 50 and over, and 32.3% are age 19 and under. And the average household size is 2.5. Overall, the neighborhood median income is $24,617. To be concise, I will forego the rest of the reading as you see here on screen. The proposed PD will add adjacent parcels to the north and south of 5th Avenue into one unified PD, a net site area total of 67,888 square feet. And the PD will rest just under a quarter of a mile away from the CTA Kedzie Blue Line station. In terms of regional context, the planned development aligns with the goals outlined in the Preserving Affordability Together blueprint for community action. Some of the plan's goals include residents thrive and benefit from new development, improve access to home ownership, and growing strong local businesses. The subject site of the PD is surrounded by a mix of RM5, RT4, and C13 zoning. Specifics of the PD zoning are that the max height of 65 feet, FAR 3.0, and a gross site area of 107,601 square feet. In complement to the existing zoning, the PD will be unified under the PD's zoning criteria. The following are current context photos of the subject site of the proposed planned development. Here are some pedestrian context views looking from Kedzie eastward up 5th Avenue. Here's looking southwest through the south side of Troy. And here is another view looking north at the north side towards Marshall High School, roughly northwesterly. The following are some 3D aerial views of the site. This one from the northeast looking southwest across the site. And another one, another 3D aerial showing the existing site from the southwest looking northeast. From here, I will hand over the presentation to Carol Stubblefield of Neal and Leroy to go over the process of the project.
Thank you, Ernest. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Commission. For the record, Carol Stubblefield with Neal and Leroy, office is located at 20 South Clark. Here on behalf of the applicant, the preservation of affordable housing here and after POA. With me today are representatives from POA and our project architects. As Ernest mentioned, the applicant proposes to rezone the property to a residential business plan development to construct a mixed-use campus. The phase 1 will include a maximum of 50 dwelling units, ground floor commercial space, and 15 parking spaces. Phase 2, which will be developed in the future, will include a maximum of 32 dwelling units, ground floor commercial space, and 17 parking spaces. The applicant has complied with all notice requirements and obtained the required necessary approvals from CDOT, MOPD, and fire. The project will also comply with the city's affordable housing ordinance and the city's goals for diversity, minority participation, sustainability, and stormwater management policies. The development team has earned the full support of the community and the Alderman. I'd now like to turn the presentation over to POA and the project architects to go through their extensive community process and project approval timeline and the design slides. POA?
Unmuted. Good morning, Chairwoman Cordova and members of the commission. Thank you, Carol. I'm here representing preservation of affordable housing. We are pleased to be here today to let you know about this project that was first initiated by the department. We were attracted to the C40 Reinventing Cities competition because of its focus not only on the most sustainable and efficient building that we could build, but also a commitment to community stability, inclusivity, partnership, deep and longstanding partnership with community members, and a vibrant transit-oriented development. We've been working on this project for several years, and as Mike Tomas had alluded, working with community members for the better part of a year. The plan development was first introduced to the commission back in April, and we've been having community meetings and making modifications with the department and with community members since last February. And we continue those meetings on a quarterly basis and have regular ongoing monthly meetings with a number of committees who are giving feedback on design, arts aspects, and retail tenants for the building. We have been able to, and Brian will walk, I'm going to introduce you to Brian Schabel, principal at Perkins and Will Architects, who will walk you through the design of the building and review some of the changes that we've made in response to feedback. Thank you all. Brian?
Good morning, Chairwoman Cordova and everybody. Thank you very much for providing us the opportunity here. I'm Brian Schabel, design principal at Perkins & Will. This is an interesting site. We've been having a lot of excitement from competition and through today, and a lot of, as Molly said, great community involvement and robust comments, and we've made modifications accordingly. This is some context photographs in particular point out the scale of the site, with Marshall High School being one of the larger buildings, but really the residential scale of the site has been critical, and some of the details at the base in particular, as well as some cornice lines, which we'll pick up on in our discussion as we move forward. Go next, please. So the property is a transit served location, and that helps us in the parking counts in particular. It is located a quarter mile north of the CTA Blue Line station at Kedzie, and shares several different types of transit modes, and walk or bike in particular is interesting, as well as some of the public transit. Obviously the Blue Line and Green Line stations are in the vicinity as well. Next, please. The benefits of this project are estimated 150 temporary construction sites, 20 estimated permanent jobs, 10 new construction hires, passive house training, which is interesting too. This is a passive house design and construction training for this. We thought was a great opportunity to provide the knowledge to really take this forward and make people more familiar with these great design assets as we move to more projects within the city. Retail tenants will be approved, have been discussed and will be approved by the community with a priority for Black-owned businesses. As I said, we've had many community meetings regarding a diverse set of topics and have been very fruitful and very interesting, actually, and particularly in a time of COVID. I've learned a lot through that process personally, and I think it's been a great process. We've had leasing fairs with partners and heavily market the neighborhood. Low-cost utilities is something that's key, obviously, with our sustainable design and the passive house. This is something that's been key for our marketing as well, but something that's a great asset to the building. And the developer fee has a series of contributions to benefit the neighborhood. Plans to exceed the city's goals for minority and women-owned enterprises, as you can see below also. So that's always been a major asset in our project. And we should move on from here. Next, please. I also want to point out NIA Architects has been a great partner. They are, I believe, on the call as well, but I'll be presenting on both of our behalves. So this is the site with Kedzie on the left-hand side, North-South Street, 5th Avenue, one of the anomalies in the city, terminating now at Kedzie, really, but a diagonal cutting through the two parcels. We have 32 surface parking spots, 15 on site on the southern site, which has been through design development, and 17 on the northern site, which is really through concept design up above. We've done a lot of site tree and sidewalk restoration on all 3 streets, that being 5th and Kedzie, as well as Troy to the east. Phase 1 is what we've again focused most of our effort to date on. We're 100% DD, so we have 2 retail entries here, and you'll see that we've really tried to hold and reinforce the corner and condition at 5th Avenue and Kedzie in both projects, knowing that Kedzie is a primary north-south road, and really trying to reinforce this as an opportunity for retail in this location. And then the residences are a little bit set back off of 5th Avenue, in particular on the ground floor, and then up above on all roads. Primary residential entry for phase 1 is off of 5th Avenue, but the retail has entries off of both 5th as a primary location and Kedzie as a secondary location. Landscape plan for phase 1 is shown here. We are trying to create a landscape buffer and an amenity for the community. So a series of trees surrounding a small modest plaza out front. You can see there, also integrating a ramp through that landscape area. There are 25 parkway trees provided, and we are looking at native plantings to reduce irrigation requirements and really make something that really belongs in this neighborhood. On the south also, we have a green buffer between the parking and the buildings that creates not only privacy, but also an opportunity for shading the southern facades. And similarly, parkway trees on Troy Street. On the north side, a little bit more robust of a landscape plan, and particularly south of the building. So this is really a greater buffer, and we see this as an amenity feature for the building, which may, in the end, grow to a community asset, but it's designed to be both. Right now, it's focused on the community of the building itself, with the gates for privacy and some security, but certainly something that's a little bit more robust and a design feature at minimum for the community. 31 internal and ornamental trees, and then again, more parkway trees to comply with the CDOT requirements. This is an updated version of one of the renderings we submitted for the C40 competition. You can see that we've tried to maintain the scale of the community, a low building with a strong corner presence. So trying to again reinforce that urban edge along Kedzie, and then soften it a little as we move east on 5th Avenue and set back with the residences. The ground floor on the building on the right, which is the southern building, has the retail. Above that, on the left-hand side of that building, you can see there is an amenity for the building itself, a rooftop terrace. We see that as an opportunity for gardening as well as like an herb garden as well for the community. Adjacent to that, you'll see in plans is shared spaces within the building, but the rest of the upper floors in particular are majority residences. And then you can also see sort of this robust landscape buffer in the center of the site between the two buildings to really reinforce the community and provide this as an asset to the for the whole neighborhood as well. This is a view looking at phase one, the southern building from basically from Marshall High School, but looking to the southeast. Again, reinforcing the corner with retail opportunities. A setback on the right on the southern portion that provides a little bit of a canopy leading to the retail locations there. And then on the north, again, another setback that sort of draws people into the corner on the north. The materiality of this building is the upper portion is high density fiber cement with through color. So the corners are nice and clean, and it's a robust, dense material. At the ground level, you can see the material changes. We have gone with an iron spot brick, picking up on some of the masonry and the texture that is rich on some of the existing buildings, particularly at locations where it is adjacent to sidewalks. So give it a little bit more durability as well. Also in this image, I would like to point out that there is some texture addition and layers into the masonry, some striping you can see, but also this is a good comment from the community members to really think about the community and the demographic of the community, and there was an interest in adding cultural references. This is a West African Adinkra symbolism, really promote the culture and identity of the neighborhood, and in this case, this one is a symbol of knowledge. So we really spent a lot of time thinking about what these symbols actually mean, how they work within the material, and really promote the culture of the community. Additionally, I'd like to point out there are certain color elements in the building to sort of pop shared spaces like the retail, and you'll see in a little bit some of the amenity spaces. And that was also of interest in the community, so we added a lot more color at key locations to the building. Next, please. Throughout the project, there are locations we've tried to maintain for local artist murals. This is looking north on Kedzie, so something that's prominent on the alley to draw attention and draw people into the space. Again, you see another Adinkra symbol in the masonry down below. Next, please. And this is looking south on Troy and Fifth Avenue, branching off to the right. So what we've done, and this is again another comment from the community, is really we had something a lot longer, flatter mass, and looking to undulate the facade both in texture, in dimension. You can see sort of the base sticking out, but also with a little bit of tone difference in the panels. So light, dark, to really enhance the depth of the facade, and that's something that has worked quite well. One other thing to point out, the windows are fiberglass, very high performing fiberglass windows with triple pane glazing, and then durable aluminum frame extensions to add texture to this, similar to the aluminum coping, to add a shadow line and a detail at the top, a cornice at the top, if you will. This building on the bottom here in the foreground is a community space, which you'll see in the plans, that is accessed actually from the outside. So this is not something that's a building amenity as much as something that we see building community, and a place that could be rented out and reserved for community meetings, and again, another asset for the neighborhood. Next. This is a view from phase two, looking to the south to phase one. Again, you can see the undulations of the facade, the materiality of the facade as well, but this robust landscape as a neighborhood asset is in the foreground here. Next, please. This is the approach to phase one entry. So the landscape buffer to the left to the residences. So the floor to floor height of the first floor is a 13'4" to accommodate or 13'10", I believe, to accommodate the residence or the retail height. But we've maintained an 11'4" residential floor to floor. So we've raised the podium of the residences to give them more privacy, and had a continuous level 2 floor plan floor level rather, so that there is a slight stoop that we've integrated into the design at the entry, which you see, which is at the top of the ramp, obviously, and another location for potential artwork, local artist mural beneath a canopy leading to a two-story space. View from the terrace on level 2, which is again a building amenity overlooking the green space between the two buildings, and the planter that we have integrated into the architecture. Elevations to give you an idea of the scale. Again, we've tried to keep this low and of the scale of the community. Marshall High School obviously is a different scale, but we're sort of mediating that with the scale of this building. And then these undulations create texture and rhythm that provide another breakdown of the scale in particular. The window patterning, the two vertical windows are in living rooms. There's a logic to those, and then the horizontal windows are in the bedrooms throughout the building. So we're trying to create a little bit more privacy in the bedrooms and maximize daylight in both locations, while being very conscious of the thermal attributes of the glazing, which I mentioned earlier. Next, please. This is the ground floor plan of the south building. You can see about 4,300 square feet of commercial space, which could be divisible. That is yet to be determined how many spaces, or if it's only one space. Loading is off of the alley as well as back of house space, so there's quick access not only to the center of the residential, but more day-to-day loading to the retail as well, which is shared. A bike room off the alley. The first floor has 10 residences. Again, that's about 2'6" above grade, so there is some privacy in both dimension and vertical and section and plan and section. And it's a variety of 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms throughout this. Also, again, would like to point out the community space and small kitchenette at the top right, which is the northeast corner, which is accessed from the exterior, not the building. Shared asset for the community. Next, please. Second floor has 15 units. Again, the same mixture of 1, 2s, and 3 bedrooms, as well as a shared assets for the building, fitness, community room, adjacent to an outdoor terrace, which you saw the rendering of. This all has centralized laundry on each floor, so making sure that there is adequate facilities for the units as well. Next, please. And then the top floor is all residences except for the laundry room. There's also, in this case, distributed laundry on both sides. It says the most. This is 18 units in this floor. The elevations, as we mentioned in the renderings, it's a majority of the upper 2 floors is high density fiber cement through color and a very robust. We are very specific about the material, making sure it's not sort of the one that is not through color and the one that has some quality issues. So we have been conscious of that throughout the project. And then the masonry at the base is something a little bit more robust and a little bit more to animate the scale of the experience at the pedestrian level. Next, please. This is the south facade. So there is obviously a landscape buffer in this small courtyard, I would say, between the parking and the residences. And Troy on the bottom right, that's the Troy facade, which also highlights the community space on the bottom right of that elevation. The north building, which is phase 2, we have taken through concept design. Again, very similar ideas. The entry is actually off of Kedzie in the northwest corner, but really trying to reinforce commercial nature in a very similar way, with access off of Kedzie and Fifth Avenue, trying to sort of energize that corner and make it reinforce the importance of Kedzie and this threshold. Similarly to the other building, a mixture of, in this case, 2 and 3 bedrooms with less 1 bedrooms throughout the floor plan on levels 2 and 3. Next, please. And next. And the elevations are also of a similar language and materiality. There is, as you saw in the aerial photograph, next please. There's a lot of full array of solar panels on the roof. I believe Molly's going to speak to this, but we've worked very hard to make this passive house, which is a very difficult and strenuous system to make this as tight as possible and performing passively to reduce costs and actually be much better for the environment and doing as much as we can on site. And I believe Molly's going to talk to the rest of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. As Brian mentioned, just meeting the city's sustainability goals through the passive house certification, which is something we had committed to at the time of the competition. And again, we're trying to be a near net zero building, so offsetting the majority of the energy consumed by the building with our own solar production on the roof. So taking those 10 points from the city for 5% renewable energy, but able to offset about 60% of the building's load. Really excited about that. Exceeding stormwater requirements, as Brian mentioned, talking through the site plan by about 25%, and a number of additional commitments we made for the competition, but that also check a number of sustainability boxes. So nature landscaping, extensive tree planting, indoor water reduction, proximity to transit, bike and ped, ERV charging stations. So we're really excited about those things, as well as some of the programming that we intend to continue for the long term. As Mike had mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, there are a lot of great organizations in the neighborhood that are partnered on gardening and sustainable food systems, and we intend to work with them to support some of the features we have for tenants, but to also have that carry through to the retail tenants we have, the ways we use community spaces to continue to educate and give residents in the community beyond resources to live more sustainably. Next slide. It's Ernest. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Brian, as well. In conclusion, the Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the materials submitted by the applicant, and we have concluded that the proposed plan development would be appropriate for the following. The proposed plan development encourages unified planning and development, promotes transit, pedestrian, and bicycle use, ensures accessibility for persons with disabilities, and minimizes conflicts with existing traffic patterns, as well as encourages shared parking. The PD strengthens the street by filling in gaps between buildings that interrupt the consistency of buildings fronting the street, and all sides and areas of the buildings that are visible to the public are to be treated with materials, finishes, and architectural details that are of high quality and appropriate for use on primary public right-of-way facing facade. Alderman Irvin is supportive of this project and has supplied a letter of support. Please refer to my staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. Based on the foregoing, it is a recommendation of the zoning administrator and the Department of Planning and Development that this application to create a residential business plan development be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards as such.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Commissioner Searle, followed by Commissioner Moore.
Maybe I missed this. Is this 100% affordable housing, or what was the percentage?
So the South Rental building is 100% affordable housing, the range income average from a range to 30 to 80% of AMI. And the North building is designed as shared ownership, cooperative, hopefully that will be affordable at or below 80, 100, 120% of AMI. So it's intended to be a fully affordable project.
Okay. What do you see as the, on the commercial retail spaces, you describe them as neighborhood serving. So what kind of retail would that possibly be?
Sure. We've done extensive kind of community studies and surveys and coming up with the desire for a sit-down restaurant or cafe. And so the building's designed with black iron and to accommodate those sorts of uses. Also need for small retail. So convenience grocer, if that's appropriate, kind of smaller retails, trying to balance the economics of the neighborhood with the need for community serving, but also kind of things feeding into healthy living and neighborhood convenience. So we're working with a number of business support organizations based on the West Side to try to identify appropriate retailers, and I've talked to a number of folks, and we also have a neighborhood-based retail committee to make final recommendations upon who we lease the space to. We're able to offer through kind of some partnerships and grants, we're able to offer the space at a low rental rate and are designed to sort of support the tenants for long-term success, marketing, and things of that nature.
Okay, one last question. You show on the south building, I believe, a 4th floor option. Is that still up in the air, or are we, what we see today is what we're approving?
What you see today, the PD statements and have the option for a 50-unit building. We'd begun this process back in April when we were trying to figure out if we could finance additional units. The more units that we can, affordable units we can provide, the better. But at this time, we're hoping to close and start construction this spring. And at this time, given the increases in the cost of construction, the feasible project to build is a 3-story, 43-unit project. So I apologize for the confusion around that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Searle. Commissioner Moore, followed by Commissioner Reyes.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to just I would like to congratulate POA and Mike Thomas on this project. It looks amazing. The design elements at the beginning, when you showed the context of the residential housing and the school, while I like the way it looks, I didn't see any of those design elements in the building. I did see the African symbols, but I was just wondering what was happening there. Why were the context of the cornices and the little design elements didn't seem to be on the finished design. Another question I had was, I really like the idea that the residents are going to approve the retail tenants. I just kind of wondered, how did you all envision that working, and did the residents already have some ideas of who those would be? I think you just said coffee shops or cafes. And then finally, my question was around the parking for the retail, and where would that be? I might have missed that, and I think I missed the unit count. So those are my questions.
Fantastic. Before you answer those questions, I want to acknowledge that Alderman Irvin is here, and once I've gone through the set of questions from commissioners, we will gladly hear what Alderman Irvin wants to say about this project. And Noah, do you have something pressing that you want to add before they answer the questions?
Yeah, just really quickly before they responded, I just wanted to offer for Commissioner Searle's question too, that the PD statements do contain site plan approval language. So when the applicant does get to the point of phase 2, you had some question about whether that fourth floor happens or not. The bulk table would allow for the entitlement, but the review of that process would have to go through a departmental review and a courtesy presentation back here at Plan Commission to obtain comments from the Plan Commissioners. So that safety is in the PD as presented today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Noah. Okay, Commissioner Moore, sorry. Can we get Commissioner Moore's questions addressed?
Molly, you want me to take the first one, and then I'll pass the others to you?
That'd be wonderful.
Okay, so with regard to the context photos, I think we picked up on 3 particular elements there. The first one, I would say, is the sort of the texture of the buildings, particularly some of those cornice, the stone details, and that's where I think the West African, the Adinkra came into play as well. And admittedly, that was a great comment from the community, and I think that was something that really added a lot of depth to this and put it in the context in a different way, but I think a very relevant way. With regard to some of the scale of the buildings, that also led to the undulations, which you see in the image here, just providing a little bit of rhythm as over the length of this long facade. Our original design was not as broken up, and I think these small moves, which came through in our discussions with the community as well, really helped enrich this. And finally, the cornice, although this is sort of an abstraction of that, I think this shadow line is something that picks up on the language of the cornice in a modern and simple way, in a very functional way, but something that really does create a top to the building. And as simple as it might be, there is interest up there in the shadow. And that, again, was something that was reinforced with community input as well as discussions with DPD.
Thank you, Commissioner Moore, for your questions. So your question about how does a resident committee for retail kind of approval work. We had some success with this model in Woodlawn, and I know you're familiar with that development. But with the Woodlawn station, we had 15,000 square feet of retail, the lease, and we really had a core group of neighborhood homeowners who said, you know, we won't want this, we want more of this. And so it was kind of a chance to gather kind of quarterly to talk about options to get kind of final sign off. So I would mention, without embarrassing him, that Alderman Irvin is on that retail committee. He's a couple blocks away and has tremendous, I think people are want to see a certain type of tenant, but they also want to see that tenant be successful. And so people are mindful of traffic counts and sort of the lack of general retail in the neighborhood. So people want that to be as successful as possible. So it's sort of a quarterly advisory committee dedicated not only to having the right tenant, but to have those tenants be successful for the long term. So I hope that answers your question. And retail parking, we are also talking with the Alderman's office. There's an adjacent city-owned lot that we may be able to improve, and we have draft budgets for it to improve that for parking, so that you know, those businesses are successful because their customers have parking that's secure and convenient. We also would look at perhaps parking, shared parking agreements in the neighborhood. So we're very cognizant of that and pursuing a few different options. Was there another question? I so apologize.
Commissioner Moore? You may have lost her momentarily.
Okay.
Commissioner Moore, did they answer your question? Did you have a follow-up? Was there a third question?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was muted. I did have a question about the unit mix.
Yeah.
I might have missed that if you gave it.
You know, I don't think we had it. The majority are, I think we have a good number of 3. We should know that at the top of my head. I think it's.
I have that, Molly. So for the south parcel, we have 14 1-bedrooms, 17 2-bedrooms, and 11 3-bedrooms. So pretty good distributed mix.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Commissioner Reyes?
Yeah, I think overall, I would like to recommend that the unit type and the number of units, it spells out as part of the presentation. I understand that this is primarily design, but also it's important for us to see who's going to use this building, right? The operations piece of that. So if I understand correctly, we have one building that is going to be for rental and the other one that is going to be for sale.
That's correct.
Okay, so can you go through the number of units in each one of the buildings? And I know you just mentioned some, and then the unit type.
Yes, I can do that again, Molly. I have those numbers. So in the south parcel, which is the rental and is the one that we have taken through 100% design development, there are 43 units, 14 1-bedrooms, 17 2-bedrooms, and 11 3-bedrooms. In the north parcel, which is intended to be a homeownership or co-op, again, we've only taken that one through concept design. There are 2 1-bedroom units, 17 2-bedroom units, and 13 3-bedroom units.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And these are 3-story buildings, right? So they're having elevators?
Yes.
That's correct. There's 2 elevators in each building.
Okay. And is there an architectural design that the facade is just one single color? Because I was also thinking, but Commissioner Moore asked in terms of the surrounding, you know, the brick, the red, not that I like that, but, you know, I just want to understand what is the logic behind, the architectural logic behind just this gray color for the facade.
We had, that has actually evolved. It was never intended to be something that was trying to be trying to match the color of the brick. So what we had, actually, it was a much lighter one. Again, through community involvement, this has evolved into something that they like the boldness of the darker gray. We were happy to oblige to that. And then the lower portion is actually an iron spot gray, which is similar, but it'll obviously have a sheen. It'll be a little bit shiny and an interesting texture there. And then those pops of color were added throughout the design as well to highlight certain aspects and brighten that. And those were colors that were reviewed with the community as well. And I would also, and this view is a good one actually, pointing out that those slight mass changes along Fifth Avenue in particular do provide a different variation of light and darker tones of the same material. We are trying to provide a very slight range as much as we are able to accommodate. That's still what we're trying to do. That you can see that in the facade, as much as we're able to accommodate in the material options we have. This is a long, thin slat material of the scale of that we feel is very appropriate also for residential rather than large panels. We've been very careful about that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Alderman Irvin, it's so nice to have you here. Thank you. Would you like to make comments?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to join today. This project has been around for a while. It has had probably one of the most robust community engagement aspects that I've seen on my tenure as alderman. The irony of this is that I live about a block and a half away from the site. So I did take some, I guess, a little bit of a more interest in it because it's directly in the community in which I live of East Garfield Park. But I will say that the developers and the team have done a great job in engaging the community in everything that has happened on this site. So we've gone through several iterations. We talked about retail, we talked about unit count. And the one thing that excites me is the opportunity for both affordable rental and affordable home ownership here at this particular site. So I would ask for the commission's support and moving this forward in the process so that we could create more affordable units in East Garfield Park. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. So with that, do I have a motion on the proposed plan development submitted by preservation of affordable housing for the property generally located at 3145 and 3150 West 5th Avenue, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
I would like to move more to.
Moved by
Second by Moore.
Moved by Commissioner Garza, seconded by Commissioner Moore. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So let me do a roll call now. Commissioner
Madam Chairman, Commissioner Biaggi joining for the record.
I was just going to say that. Thank you, Commissioner Biaggi. And for the record, do you know what time you arrived? I know it was earlier in this presentation.
It was like about 10:30, 10:40.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so with that, Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Commissioner Searle.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yes.
Commissioner Tunney.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagesbach. And the motion passes. So congratulations.
Yes, Chairwoman. Sorry about that, Alderman or Chairman.
Got it.
And President. Ready for the vote.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Commissioner Wagesbach. All right, motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Exciting project. All right, the next item on the agenda is D4, a proposed amendment to residential business plan development 306, submitted by Lincoln Park Lofts LLC for the property generally located at 554-628 West Diversity Parkway and 2801-2807 North Broadway Street. The applicant is proposing to revise the existing plan for this plan development by eliminating the permitted proposed 8-story residential building and replacing it with the existing single-story commercial development. The request is made to allow renovation to occur for future tenants of the single-story commercial building. No changes are proposed to the existing residential tower. Item 20813, PD number 306. This is in the 44th Ward, and Catherine Hurd will provide the context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal.
Thank you very much. Good morning. For the record, my name is Catherine Hurd with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, Lincoln Park Plaza Lofts LLC, is here today to request approval of an amendment to Residential Business Plan Development 306, which is generally located at 554-628 West Diversity Parkway and 2801-2807 North Broadway Street, and at the corner of Diversity Parkway and Broadway in Lakeview. The applicant is proposing to revise the plan in this plan development by eliminating the currently proposed 8-story residential building and replacing it with the existing single-story commercial development that is there today. The request is being made to allow renovation to occur for future tenants of the single-story building. No other changes are proposed for the existing residential tower. So the site is located in the North Region on the boundary of Lakeview and Lincoln Park community areas. It is just within the southern boundary of the Lakeview community area, which is a dense mixed-use transit-oriented and walkable neighborhood. The demographics are predominantly white, with nearly half the population between 20 and 34 years old, and nearly half within single-person households. Compared to the rest of the city and region, Lakeview also has a high percentage of people living without cars and commuting via transit. The site is an existing planned development, which was initially created in 1983. It is located within a dense mixed-use residential and commercial neighborhood at the corner of Broadway, Diversey, and Clark. Property is well served by transit, including being located approximately 1,500 feet from the Sheridan Road bus corridor, which includes the 134 and 143 express buses. The approximate plan development boundary is shown here with a dashed outline. The portion of the plan development being discussed today, the existing single-story commercial building at the corner, is represented in the red tone. In the right-hand photo, the property is shown from the ground level. The red tone, again, highlights the existing commercial building that we're here to discuss. On the left of the image is a rendering of an approved 8-story residential building where the single-story commercial building is today. However, this previously proposed building was never constructed and is no longer being proposed. This is the currently approved plan to construct the still unbuilt 8-story residential building where the existing single-story commercial building sits today. Now I'd like to pass it off to Talar Berberian from Thompson Coburn to go over the details of the proposed amendment.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Great. Thank you, Catherine. So as Catherine said, we're here to permit the proposed tenants to make improvements and occupy the existing commercial spaces and use them as commercial spaces moving forward. So can I advance the slide or?
That's me. Just tell me to advance and I'll do it.
Awesome. Can you please move forward? I just want to show yeah, this is perfect. So you'll see the site plan that shows what is existing today on the Diversey side, which is on the bottom of the screen. The existing and then the proposed on the Diversey side, you'll see the build out of the retail space that is closest to Diversey, as well as the sidewalk patio that is planned there. You'll note also that there are new storefront windows proposed on that site. So they will be replacing existing windows. And in the case of the corner, the entrance will be enlarged slightly, but it will remain where it is. There will also be a new entrance on the Diversey side to allow access from the space, the retail space, into the sidewalk cafe, the patio area. Can you move forward? Thank you. And then this shows, again, that same Diversey side elevation. You'll see the new window system as well as the new entrance that's showing there. As Catherine mentioned, the red shaded area is the area of the PD that we are discussing today. The remaining black and white portion is existing and will remain as it exists, as it is. This is a closer view of that same Diversey elevation. So you'll see in color, as well as comparison to what is existing there today. And one thing I'll point out too simply is that as you go east on Diversey, there are existing retail spaces that are on that pedestrian street today. So it will help tie activate that corner and tie the existing retail to what is proposed. The new retail space, which is intended for, I don't think I mentioned this, a high-end grocery convenience type store. Okay, you can move forward. Here's an artistic rendering of the same elevation. And then another one, another one that shows, I'm sorry, can you go back really quick? Sorry, this one shows just what the existing retail, excuse me, the existing residential building looks like behind that space. Okay, now you can go ahead. And then this is the Broadway side. So currently the retail space that will front on Broadway, it exists much like the one on Diversity, but there is no tenant slated for it. But there will be some improvements made to the window system there to help attract a new retail tenant. And we anticipate at the time that a tenant is identified that they will pursue an interior build out, but that no further changes will be made to the exterior. Remains to be seen until a tenant is identified. So here's a closer up, and then there are in the next slide some artistic renderings again that show what those new windows will look like. And there's no sidewalk proposed here, but again, this will help that portion of Broadway, become more activated, hopefully when a tenant is attracted and the retail corridor continues, obviously, as you go further on Broadway. Okay, and the history of this PD, it's a little bit complicated. So the residential tower that exists there today was approved in 1983 with 249 residential uses. And the existing commercial space was part of that PD. So that was constructed. It was used in 2009. There was an approved amendment which retained the commercial space on the ground floor in the portion of the PD that we're discussing today, but proposed also an additional tower that would bring the FAR of the PD to 5 points and increase the unit count to 306. It also proposed an addition of parking spaces, but that proposal never moved forward. There were a series of minor changes to the PD that were approved anticipating the construction of the residential tower at the corner, but again, because it was never constructed, commercial space was retained. And at this juncture, we are simply hoping to clear up that ordinance, remove the current reference to the residential tower on that corner, and ensure that the ordinance reflects what exists today and reflects the uses that are proposed and anticipated moving forward. So you will note that the unit count is much closer to what was approved initially, 249 units. It's now at 253. 4 units were added, between 83 and today. And the FAR will remain at that 4.3 that was approved in 1983. So this project, we did work with the Alderman's office. They directed us to Southeast Lakeview Neighbors. We met with that group twice to propose the changes, to let them know what was coming and to introduce them also to the tenant that would be moving in. And then at the subsequent meeting, early November, they approved the proposal. And then since then, we've had conversations with the Alderman's office, which has been supportive throughout and has been very helpful throughout this process as well. And really the biggest benefits of this project are activating that retail space. It is an extremely high traffic corner, a very walkable and active part of the city. And so we are excited to be able to reactivate the retail space on the Diversity side to continue, the continuity of active retail in that portion of Lakeview, and then hopefully attract another, activating tenant on the Broadway side as well. Catherine.
Again, for the record, Catherine Hurd from DPD. The Department of Planning and Development has reviewed the project materials submitted by the applicant, has concluded that the proposed amendment would be appropriate because it is compatible with the surrounding neighborhood context and zoning. Activating this formerly vacant building is an improvement for the neighborhood and better serves the larger community. This is also a favorable location for commercial activity since it can take advantage of the available transit, bike, and pedestrian networks in the area. Please refer to the staff report for further details regarding this project and the plans identified here today. But based on the foregoing, it is a recommendation of the zoning administrator that this application to amend residential business plan development 306 be approved and forwarded to the City Council Committee on Zoning, Landmarks, and Building Standards. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hurd. Alderman Tunney, can you, do you have any comments you want to make on the project?
Commissioner and fellow members, this is a no-brainer. Obviously, it's one of the busiest corners in the city, and that Walgreens vacated that space and literally moved across the street for their high-end Walgreens. That has closed. So the combination of both of these, 2 of the 5 corners in this major intersection are vacant, and by allowing this retail only use will activate, as said by the department, both the diversity side and the Broadway side. So it's much needed. You can see the building on the left, which is the triangle building, was all a Walgreens upgraded store. They moved from the current, or from this location across the street, and then they subsequently closed that. So it's really a big void and this very busy intersection, and of course went through the community process, and we fully support this. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Alderman Tunney. Do I have a motion on the proposed amendment to residential business plan development 306 submitted by Lincoln Park Lofts LLC for the property generally located at 554-628 West Diversity Parkway and 2801-2807 North Broadway Street, finding that it meets the requirements for approval?
Motion Piñeiro.
That was a lot of enthusiasm. Commissioner Piñeiro made the motion, seconded by
Biaggi.
Commissioner Biaggi. Let me do roll call. Commissioner Biaggi.
Yes.
Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Garza.
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons.
Yes.
Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy. All right, I guess I'll stop calling his name. Commissioner Piñeiro.
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes.
Yes.
Commissioner Searle.
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tunney, I assume is.
Yes, yes.
Are you, would you be a
Chairwoman, it's going to be a recusal from Commissioner
Yeah.
Tunney. I'll get the form from his office.
Okay, thank you. And then Commissioner Wagasbuck.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Excuse me, this is Commissioner Navarra. I just joined and I'm a yes.
Oh, fantastic. Welcome, Commissioner.
And
so-
Chairwoman, can you
Uh-huh.
also recognize Commissioner Burnett? He has joined as well.
Okay, and long enough to vote, I presume?
Looks like we lost him. He was on his phone, so maybe he'll be back. Sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner
Well,
Cordova, can I forgot to mention one thing I wanted to.
Go for it. Go for it.
So this property built in 83 has 253 units. Just for the benefit of our commission, there's at least 100 Section 8 affordable units in this building. So I wanted to make sure that people knew that we are we have been supporting and this building and working with HUD to make sure that it remains affordable. So I want to make sure that that's on the record, because it's 100 basically valuable units in Lakeview. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Reyes.
I just want to appreciate that comment because I was going to ask about that component, but then I realized that the motion went on. So I truly, truly appreciate that comment, Commissioner Tunney.
Great, thank you very much. So motion passes, congratulations. Next item on the agenda is D5, a courtesy presentation to the Chicago Plan Commission for site plan review within institutional plan development number 50 submitted by the applicant, Advocate Northside Health Network Incorporated, for the property generally located at 900 West Nelson Street. The applicant is proposing to expand the Center for Advanced Care to the CAC to the western edge of the property and include a 4-story addition to expand the CAC vertically. No changes to the previously approved PD 50 are requested. Again, this is a courtesy presentation to give us some idea of the concept review on this. And let me then go to Paul Reese, who will provide that context overview, and the applicant will present their proposal. Mr. Reese.
Thank you and good morning, Madam Chair and members of the Plan Commission. For the record, my name is Paul Reese with the Department of Planning and Development. The applicant, Advocate Northside Health Network, is here today represented by Susan Nordstrom Lopez. Also on the call are Tim Tracy of the design firm Smith Group and attorneys Jack George and Kate Duncan from Ackerman. The applicant is proposing to expand the Illinois Masonic Hospital Center for Advanced Care to the western edge of the property and include a 4-story addition to expand the Center for Advanced Care vertically. No changes to the PD as amended December 18th, 2019 are requested. Today is a courtesy presentation to the Plan Commission. This request for site plan approval will be reviewed by the Department of Planning with comments from today's discussion taken into consideration. The final site plan approval will be by the zoning administrator. PD 50 is located within the Lakeview community area within the 44th Ward. The site is located between Sheffield and Halstead, Wellington, and Barry, and adjacent to the CTA Brown Line station at Wellington in the city's North Planning region. According to CMAP's August 2021 community snapshot data, the Lakeview community area has a total population of just over 103,000 people, made up of 78% white, 4% Black, 9% Hispanic, and 7% Asian. The median income for the area is over 92,000. PD 50's net site area is 588,687 square feet, and the bulk and density was established in the 2019 amendments. Therefore, no zoning changes are being sought today. This is the aerial photo showing the site context. We'll now hand over the presentation to Mr. Jack George, attorney for the applicant.
Is he present?
Yes, we've asked him to unmute. I think he has to accept the unmute.
Yeah, the clock's ticking.
All right, I'm sorry. Good morning, Madam Chairman.
Good morning.
And members of the commission. My name is Jack George. I am an attorney with offices at 71 South Wacker. I represent Illinois Masonic Hospital. And before we begin and have the architect go through some of the design concepts of what this is all about, I just wanted to ask the president of the hospital, Susan Nordstrom Lopez, to just explain to everyone why she is going forward and why the hospital is going forward at this time with this project. And so, Susan, could you just make a few words about that?
Mr. George, and also Mr. George, are you able to put your video on so that we can see you?
Oh, sure, I can. Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, and then the next person who's going to speak can go ahead and proceed.
Good morning.
Good
I'm
morning.
Susan Nordstrom Lopez, president of Advocate Illinois Masonic Medical Center. This project is our final phase of a 10-year-long master plan. This plan would privatize all of our inpatient rooms, which we have very few today, and add and enhance operating rooms and interventional space. The privatizing of patient rooms would improve safety by decreasing opportunities for infection, improve quality and ADA accessibility, and improve service by creating privacy for our patients and their families. I'll now turn it over to Tim Tracy, our architect from Smith Group.
Thanks, Susan. Tim, can you go forward, Tim? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Jack. Thank you, Susan, and commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to present in front of you today. I'm Tim Tracy, the director of the Chicago office of Smith Group, and have had the pleasure of working with the hospital for the last 10 years on achieving this vision. This aerial view shows the condition in its current state. The center of the picture of Nelson Street showing the Center for Advanced Care in an office building that was just recently raised to allow this project to move forward. On the next slide, you'll see an image of the existing Center for Advanced Care. It was completed in 2014. An amendment to PD 50 was approved by this group in 2012 to allow this project to move forward. It's approximately 140,000 square foot facility, outpatient facility at the time, that was designed to be vertically expanded in a future phase. Today is that future phase as we're here to present to you what the next step of this will be. This south elevation shows the elevation that faces the campus. The architectural aesthetic was intended to establish a modern, transparent, open facility that was inviting, creating a sense of hope for patients to come to the facility. On the next slide, walking around the building, you'll see the north elevation that's facing the Berry Avenue streetscape. There was a strategic decision made through various conversations with the committee and the community, and including Alderman Tunney and his group back in 2011 when we sought approval for this facility to push the building back 60 feet from the right-of-way, approximately 80 feet from the street. This created an open green space, which has become a community amenity, as well as a very important health and healing feature within the hospital. On the next slide, you'll see a view looking west on Berry Street, the existing Center for Advanced Care to the right, a 3-story facility, primarily of masonry on this north elevation that is contextual with the residential projects and homes that you'll see on the left-hand side of this screen. On the next slide, you'll see moving further to the west on Berry, but now turning to look to the west. The Center for Advanced Care in its existing state now exists on your left-hand side of the screen. The right-hand side of the screen shows a multi-unit residential structure on the northern side that abuts the public right-of-way. You can see the mature tree line a little bit in the distance. On the next slide, we've stepped back and provided an architectural collage of that streetscape to help also view the images of the residences to the north. The residences on the north on Berry Avenue are primarily a mixture of 2-story residential units going all the way up to 4-story units. The typical height doesn't exceed roughly 50 feet. And you can see in the image below a variety of different proportions and scales of windows, but all of smaller context and smaller scale. We used some of this as sort of hints to how we should consider building the lower part of the building at the Center for Advanced Care from our initial plan. On the next slide, you'll see the land use zoning plan. The dark line outlines the perimeter of Plan Development 50. At the northern edge, you have Berry Avenue, which we just showed you the context images. At the easternmost edge, the PD 50 extends to Halsted. At the westernmost edge, it extends to Sheffield. And along the south, the primary corridor is the Wellington Avenue. However, there are some structures that extend just to the south of Wellington. But you can see how this plan development is very much nestled into the residential context of its surrounding area. On the next slide, you'll see we're here primarily talking about sub-area C today, which is the highlighted purple area. And I think if you move to the next slide, you'll see what is essentially the figure ground of the existing condition, the Center for Advanced Care as it exists currently within that purple boundary. So moving forward on the next slide, the big reveal, this is what we are here to present and propose today. The Center for Advanced Care in this image has been extended all the way to the west on the bottom 3 floors. And we are showing a 4-story addition of bed units directly above the Center for Advanced Care and above this westward addition. On top, you'll see a penthouse of metal panel. The intention is that hopefully this all reads as one building, designed as in one way to allow this hospital to be able to expand into its future state. The material palette is intended to match that existing Center for Advanced Care, a glazed unitized curtain wall with passive solar shading on the south to really maximize light into the patient rooms, really in helping to improve upon the healing condition that will occur on the upper floors as well as the lower floors. The left-hand side shows a vertical tower, which is a exiting stair, which will be clad in metal panel. That metal is intended to also be sort of a silvery color aluminum panels to reduce some of the visual weight of the structure. If you move to the next slide, slide 15, the site plan, here you'll see the white boundary of the existing Center for Advanced Care. The shaded gray area to the left of that shows the proposed footprint of the 3-story westward expansion, extending almost to the CTA tracks. We're holding back roughly 17 feet from that edge, allowing an area for pedestrian walkway to occur between the building and the L tracks itself. We are within the setbacks on both sides, and as previously I mentioned, the expanded setback on the north. The next slide is just a further rendering showing some of the landscape, the intention of the landscape. That garden along the north side that was such a prominent feature in the initial project, we plan to extend all the way to the west to allow that community feature, that community resource to maintain sort of a fixture and to allow that to be something that's used regularly by both hospital and the community. I did mention the ability to pass through. We heard through many of our community meetings that the pedestrian walkway on campus that it currently provides is an important feature. So that yellow boundary that a hand is moving up and down there shows that pathway that will exist, a pathway sort of bordered by landscape, but also well lit so it can be safe and something that the community feels comfortable using at all times of the day. The next slide shows the first floor, the lobby space and the entry in the existing building will be further expanded. As this vertical expansion occurs, the hospital or this building goes from an outpatient facility to really becoming the hospital. So this expanded yellow space is a lobby that will now exist that will allow for full outpatient and inpatient access into the community. On the next slide, you'll see the green roof extension on the westward expansion of this project. The PD requires 50% of the roof area to be covered with green roof. We'll meet that requirement and hopefully exceed it a little bit. I'll also point out a feature of the geometry in laying out a hospital. There's a discipline and a rigor of rectilinear geometry that is typically stayed within. In this particular case, in meeting with the community in a variety of different forums, one of the comments that we heard was any bit of adjustments to the architecture that could allow sun to reach the residences on the north side in any way would be greatly appreciative. So we've stayed within the height limitations to maximize that. We've also subtly kinked the geometry along this west elevation to allow it to bend to the south, simply to allow slightly more access for the sun during the winter hours so that it can, as it's setting in the west, it can sneak past this building and help provide that sunlight on the residences in the north. A subtle gesture, but one that we heard from the community that was greatly appreciative. On the next slide, we'll walk through just the elevations. And as you can see, sort of the structure and straight elevation is quite massive. The limitation of height that was established in PD 50 back in 2011 was 146 feet from street level. We have maintained that and are staying within that height limitation, although the numbers on the right refer to the city datum and not that 146, but trust me, the math works. On the next slide, you'll see the western elevation where the building becomes a little narrower as we're trying to really extend the orientation east-west, maximizing views to the south and to the north, minimizing the orientation here on the west. The next slide shows that north elevation. And here is where you'll see a little bit more of the intention to follow the context of the residential area. The bottom portion of this building, the bottom 3 floors, will be mostly a masonry clad facility with some curtain wall allowing access and views into the health areas for the infusion space. The 4th floor is essentially a mechanical penthouse that serves as a buffer between then the 4 floors above that, which will be a glass-clad bed tower. So the next elevation shows the east side of the building, which is a very simple sort of context back to the main hospital, following the towers on the 2 stair towers and the punched window openings for glazing that'll face the eastern side of the building. So on the next slide, we also looked very carefully at all of the access and circulation. This is an aerial axonometric that shows the proposed Center for Advanced Care and the vertical expansion. Being an active hospital, there's obviously a lot of traffic in and around this facility. The red line shows the ambulance entry on the south part of the campus, which is on Wellington. The yellow lines show an interesting complexity. Being in an urban environment, the loading dock of this facility, this main campus, exists on Wellington, but also exists directly adjacent to the main entrance of the facility. So we're being very careful to allow the different traffic flows to occur at different times so that the maximum amount of safety can be maintained. The 2 green lines show the vehicular drop-off. There will be an existing entry at the stone pavilion that remains, and then the new entry into this facility as well that are shown by green arrows there. And then, of course, there's a wealth of CTA access, both buses. We neighbor the brown line, which is the western edge of the campus, which are also entry points into this campus as well. And I'll show you an image of that in just a second. So the next slide is a bit zoomier of a view as you're on grade coming into campus along Nelson. To the right-hand side of this image is the existing parking deck. To the left-hand side, you see the beauty of the L tracks, and you can see the pedestrian walkway that we are leaving along the edge of that. We're trying to minimize the abruptness of the facility with landscaping around, allowing the green and the sort of foliage to help provide sort of a pedestrian buffer, if you will, to the facility itself. But a highly choreographed access point of car drop-offs to that main entry, pedestrian walkways allowing access in a safe way. And you can obviously see the architecture that we were discussing before. The south elevation is a mixture of that curtain wall and passive solar shading, as well as metal panels to provide privacy in areas that need to be private. On the next slide, we've stepped back a little bit. We're on the west side of the L track, just simply giving you a view as to what you'll see as you pull away from the campus. I'm trying to do what we can from an architectural perspective to break down the scale of this building. The stair tower expressed on the west-hand elevation, the glass on the south elevation still in full view in this particular image. Now, as we walk around to the north side, which is the next slide, if you were passing by on the L train and you turn to look back, this is what you would see at elevated view. At the ground plane, you can see the extended green space, the garden that is within that 60-foot setback. Again, that is an incredible community feature for us that we want to make sure that we maintain. You also see the bottom 3 floors of this building, or it's actually 2 floors of this building. The partial below grade floor is the masonry sort of punched window architecture that we established with the Center for Advanced Care, taking care of and attention to the scale of the windows and trying to be something more attuned to the residential scale. The mechanical floor that is the buffer to then the bed tower above, the 4 floors of glass-clad beds at the upper portion of the building with then an aluminum panel penthouse at the top. You can see partly from this view how we've started to extend the glass, turn the glass along that west-hand side It's subtle, but that opening up of the facility will allow that light to occur. And hopefully the use of the glass in the upper portion of this building, a more reflective glass that is bird friendly, that also allows the mass of the building to be reduced as it goes up. Reflections of the sky and the sun and the clouds, we think will do well to help us reduce the mass of the facility. So I'll close with just a couple of thoughts on the sustainability plan on the next slide. Our intention is a minimum of LEED silver with a stretch of LEED gold in a hospital and existing facility. There's just all kinds of challenges, but we're holding ourselves accountable to that and feel we have a great path towards that. As I mentioned, the green roof previously, the compliance path 5.1 and our commitment to 50% or more of roof area being a vegetated surface. And then we also have the 80% waste diversion with compliant path 8.1 and the underground stormwater retention. Water is a really important component of our sustainability plan for this. I just close by saying that this process in working with the hospital, we've met with multiple community groups as well as Alderman Tunney to keep them in the loop throughout this process and have received feedback throughout that we've tried to incorporate into the architecture and hope that through these efforts, we're putting the hospital in a great position to succeed long-term and to continue to be a community resource for the Lakeview community. I'll turn it back to Jack.
Thanks very much, Tim. In addition to what Tim was just saying with respect to the community outreach, we had met with Alderman Tunney a number of times, as well as his community group, and then with the community organization, which is CLVN, which is the local community group. We also had a separate meeting with the owners of the property on Berry Street, since this would be affecting them, and had a very good meeting with them. But with all the meetings that we had on this project with all these different groups, we did not receive any objection to what we were doing with respect to this new addition to the facility. And so, and then as we did in 2019, we made a commitment at that time with respect to MBE and WBE, and we continue to make that commitment here for a commitment of 26% MBE and 6% WBE. From everything we have said and the architect and of course Susan's remarks, I mean, this is a project that the hospital is so very, very proud of. And we appreciate having the opportunity to have this information meeting with all of you today so that we could explain it to you. And again, to say thank you to Alderman Tom Tunney for all the time and work that he has given to us on this project. And so I turn it back now to Paul and for your conclusion. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. George. Again, Paul Reese, Department of Planning and Development. And that concludes the presentation. As a reminder, there's no vote required today, but any comments that are made will be incorporated into the department's determination for site plan approval. And the project team is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reese. Before I go to Commissioner or Alderman Tunney, to see if he has any comments. Noah, can you say for the public record and for the commissioners, what happens? We're making comments now on this sort of courtesy, but then when it actually comes into fruition, can you please lay out, I know you did it for me, but if you can lay out for the commission and for the public, what then would be the process for follow-up?
Absolutely. So this PD actually contained provisions for the entitlements of the bulk and density that you see before you today. But it did also include a provision that they had to come back to the department for site plan approval in order to then build to those entitlements, because that the second phase of this building was not contemplated in the approval first go around. So the applicant is here following the steps included in the plan development to make a presentation to the Plan Commission and the department in conjunction with the site plan approval request to the department. So the department waits for this step to happen and incorporates comments and listens to comments received by the Plan Commissioners. And we use it as part of our review and criteria when determining whether or not the project is final or ready to get a letter from the department. So this step happens before the department renders a decision.
Great, perfect, thank you. Alderman Tunney, did you, oh, I'm sorry, let me go to Commissioner Searle.
Thank you. And I don't necessarily have to go before Alderman Tunney. I'd love to hear his comments too, but I really wish that we were voting on this. It kind of reinforces my comments. I always say that, you know, these presentation projects are frustrating in a way. We can't really, you know, kind of weigh in a substantial way. But to me, I'm just having trouble with the proportions of this new building related to the previous one, or the addition to the existing building, let's say. It looks really like 1 story too high, and on the other view from the south, I think it is, it's very kind of overcomplicated compared to this, what I consider to be kind of a nice simplicity of the existing building. So you know, it's kind of more of a design comment, but I just think it's overdone. And that's, in my mind, it's a little bit too bad, because this is a residential neighborhood. These are all, you know, maybe 3-4 story buildings at the most. And then suddenly we have this really tall element here. So I'm not impressed.
Commissioner, so one of the things that does happen based on any comments that we make here at the Plan Commission is that DPD will then take into account the comments that we make as they continue to work with the developer on this. So I would imagine this point you're making could be something that DPD would address, and I see Noah nodding his head. So thank you, Commissioner Searle. Alderman, yeah, Alderman Tunney. Oops, no Alderman Tunney.
Okay, I'm here. Okay. So let me reiterate a couple of the community processes that we've worked with Masonic over the last 10 years. Number one, this project has lowered 1 floor, I believe, from what was presented to the community. But the community was fully aware of the height limit back in 19 when we approved the first phase. I'm not an architect, but one of the more valuable things, this is the view from Barry. So was presented that most of them are 3- and 4-story buildings on the other side, but there is a huge setback and the park space in the front that really met with a lot of support from our neighbors across the street. While Masonic is in a residential neighborhood, Masonic has been at this site you know, for 100 and some years. And we have had a great relationship with the hospital even before Advocate bought out the Masonic part of it. You know, this has met with the community support. We did lower it 1 floor, but my belief is that, and I know Susan Nordstrom's on the call, but they are completely reinvigorating the campus, and some of the newer buildings are this tall. The one at Halsted and Wellington is 10 stories. I think the W. Clement Stone Tower is almost that tall. So I think that they've been sensitive to the setbacks. Again, the architecture from the residential side is interesting. I think what I'd like to see, to go back to maybe Commissioner Searle's question, is to actually look at it from the south. So the Nelson Berry Park. Can we get that screen on? Okay, so you see on the left, you're right next to the tracks, the red line there, and to the right is one of their parking facilities. You know, I know that the first half has met with a lot of community support. Whether this is either too complex or too tall, I believe that this, can be tweaked, but it does definitely have the community support. And I know that they've been very thoughtful and responsive to our neighbors that abut this. So I am in support of it. We'll continue to work with them. But I think part of what this campus is not shown in the slides, that some of the other buildings that are almost that tall, if not that tall. Is that correct, Mr. George?
That's correct. And what we, the height of this building now with this addition, and we have reduced it 1 floor from what we originally started out. We were permitted under the 2019 plan development that was approved by the Plan Commission to have a height of 164 feet, and we're just there or a little bit lower now. And so everything that we've done is been the subject matter of the hearings back in 2019, and then all of the hearings that we've had this past year on this project, and we've had them extensively with these community groups. And as I said before, I mean, as the need for the hospital and the desire for the way it's being designed is something that's really been received well by the community, because everyone knows how important it is for the community to have this new addition. And so everybody, and that's why I had a separate meeting with the people on Berry Street to have them understand it. And they came and they expressed to us their happiness at the height of the setback that we had here, which is really fully landscaped. And then also the fact that we were going to reduce it another floor. I sent that notice out about a month ago, telling them that we were reducing it a floor from what we previously had sent to them and talked to them about. And again, I haven't received any objection from anyone. Everything we've received on this project to date has been very supportive of our project, of the building, and also the design of the building and the setbacks and the landscaping. And so we really had an awful lot of community input on this project, and I'm very happy that with the way everyone received it. And but as always, we always listen to everyone. And as you've indicated, as Noah indicated, we now have to go back for site plan approval. So the new design for the parking and everything was just approved the other day by CDOT. The water detention group, Tom Billingsley, he just approved it. We're still working with the Mayor's Office of People with Physical Disabilities to go through some items with them. They gave a letter, and as always, they say that they'll approve it, understanding that you meet all the requirements for adaptability and accessibility, which we'll do. And so everything that we did the last time in terms of meeting with the departments of the city, we have to do. And so any suggestions or commitments or requirements that they have, we'll meet. So again, I just really appreciate the opportunity for having us bring this back for information purposes, so that you know how this new phase of development will be done and how it will look and be received by the community.
Thank you. Ms. Nordstrom Lopez.
Just wanted to add, with the first phase of the Center for Advanced Care, it's been wildly popular with our patients. The front of the building may look complex, but what it allows is a lot of light into the hospital, which typically our prior buildings were really pretty dark. And patients have commented, I don't feel like I'm in a hospital because of the amount of light of having this curtain wall in the front. And it's been an outstanding addition.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, well, this again has been already stated. We don't have a vote on this. This was a presentation to us to allow us an opportunity to make some comments that DPD would take into account as they will work further with the applicant. So we thank you. We thank you for the time of coming down here to spend with us. Item D6, as you know, has been deferred. We voted to defer that item, and we are now nearing the end of our meeting. What I need now is this does conclude our meeting of Chicago Plan Commission, and what I need now is a motion to defer this meeting, which was probably done in maybe record time. But in any case, can I get that? Can I get a motion and a second on the motions to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Seconded by Seconded by, I'm sorry, I didn't get the second.
I think I was. Reyes.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner, your voice a little muffled. Okay, so a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Biaggi,
Yes.
Commissioner Cordova is a yes. Commissioner Garza,
Yes.
Commissioner Lyons,
Yes.
Commissioner Moore,
Yes.
Commissioner Pinedo,
Yes.
Commissioner Reyes,
Yes.
Commissioner Searle, Commissioner
Sorry,
Shaw.
yes.
It's okay.
So yes.
Commissioner Shaw, Commissioner Tunney. All right, that does conclude, let me go back over here. That does conclude this month's meeting of the Chicago Plan Commission. And it is now adjourned at 12:14. Did I hear a voice?
Chairwoman, Commissioner Wagasback is happy to adjourn as well.
Yeah, right on. Thank you. So we got a vote there for
Thank you.
Commissioner Wagasback. And with that, the meeting is adjourned, and have a wonderful start of the holiday season, dare I say, but enjoy family and friends as we approach Thanksgiving. So many thanks to all of you, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.